The new school year has started, or the new semester, and you're a few weeks in. There are three things that you need to be doing at this point, and AI can help us do all three of them. That's what I'm going to show you in this video, so let's get started. The first thing that you should be doing is diagnosing where the students are academically. You've got a pre-assessment, you've got some work samples, you've got some formative assessments. So what does this tell you about the kids and their specific learning needs? Now, there is a rather long prompt that's going to help you to answer that question. And I'll show you the parts that you need to modify for your specific context, your classroom and your students. I am A, and here's where you're describing yourself. My students have been working on, and you'll see these parts in brackets. Those are the parts that you modify. Now, you're going to drop in your learning objective right here. So learning objective is this. Then we need to get some data over to the AI. You need to share with the AI what you've got. So here, below are the results from a beginning of the year assessment. No student names, no personally identifying information because we don't put that into AI tools. Now, I've gone ahead and just pasted the data in here, but if you've got a spreadsheet to upload or another document, or however you need to get it to the AI, that's what you do. Honestly, I've got this thing blown up so much it looks like a mess. All right, so the data go in somehow. Then, boilerplate. And analyze the data, help me plan instruction. And how do we want the AI to do that? Well, the first thing, something that AI tools are exceptional at doing, is identifying patterns. I mean, that's frankly what AI tools do, patterns. So, based on those data, difficulties, but distinguish class-wide challenges versus individual challenges. Then identify possible misconceptions. This is something we often forget to do. We say kids are at this level, and this level. Okay, what about it? Well, why? What is their misconception that's preventing higher achievement? And label them as hypotheses. Okay, so that's all boilerplate there. This part of the task, identify what I still need to know. That's a limited data set right there. And it's not going to tell you everything. So are there some areas where you still need to get some information because you can't draw a firm conclusion? Where are the data insufficient? And what can I do to get those data to learn what I need to know about the kids? So that's boilerplate. Number 4, instructional groups, flexible groups, and some details around that. Okay. Then for each of those groups, IDs and some details around that, instructional focus, identify whole class priorities that seem to be broad across most of the kids, flag the exceptions, those that don't fit into the patterns, and very importantly, don't make any assumptions. AIs try to be as helpful as possible. That's how they're designed. So we have to tell the AI, don't do it. And give them to me as recommendations. I'm the teacher. I will make the final decision. And it's going to go through and it's going to provide a very thorough analysis for you about misconceptions and needs and strengths and challenges, possible groups, instructional focuses, all of those things, which is essential information for you now that you have some information about the kids. Now, I will note this. When I ran this with AI, it gave me like 10 different groups. And some of those groups only had one student in them, which is not sufficient. Okay, so you'll see here instructional groups, and some of them, they've only got 1 or 2 kids. That wasn't sufficient for me, and it's not practical for a classroom. So I followed it up. If you get something like this, here is your follow-up as soon as I can find it. All right. Give me revised grouping suggestions. That didn't work for me. I want 4 discrete groups, which means kids can only be in one specific group. Give me the student IDs and the potential instructional needs for each group. And then I got 4 clear groups, each of which has some kind of a common need that I can address, like if I'm doing my learning stations in the classroom where I'm differentiating my instruction. That's what I needed to know. So that is strategy number one. Figuring out what you've learned about the students. Now, number two is pretty simple, actually. You've got classroom processes, you've got classroom expectations, and you're observing the kids. You're like, you know what? They're not doing this part well, or there's some friction in that part, or this is taking too long, or something's not working. So we turn it over to the AI. Here is a sample prompt. Here is the description of what are you actually observing. You're not making any assumptions. You're not making any conclusions. You're just saying, here's what you're actually seeing. All right. So what do you need? You need a simple procedure, simpler procedure, student-friendly directions, and a plan for practicing and reinforcing. And the AI will give you those three things so you can implement them and get kids on track. Now, I did do one quick follow-up, which I think is really great. After he gave me all of that text stuff, I said, you know what? Give me a visual routine, something I can put in my classroom, I can put in the kids' hands to help reinforce that idea. Then he gave me a pretty nice visual that I can print off and give to kids. So that is number two. And if I haven't said it yet, I'll say it now. All of these prompts are going to be on a blog post over on our website. So check out the comments and I'll put a link down there. And leave a comment if you tried any of these, if they're working for you, or if you have questions. All right. Number three is kind of a whopper, but it's a lot of boilerplate. Now that you know some stuff about the kids, how do you adjust your instruction based on that? And you're going to start with the lesson plan that you already have, which you're going to provide to the AI. So the boilerplate at the top and the modifications, this is you, help me adjust in my plan, help me adjust my plan based on what I've learned. You're going to include your learning objective. You're going to provide your current lesson plan, whether you write it out here or you upload it. See the uploaded document for my lesson plan, something like that. And some specific details. What have you observed about your kids and their academic progress? Where is it working for them? Where is it not working? What have you actually said? Now, again, no conclusions, no judgments, just what have you actually seen? Because we're going to let AI provide some thought partnership for us to help us work through this process. All right, so there's stuff about the kids, goes on forever. Then the task, help me modify the plan, keep the same learning objective, make sure it's appropriate for my kids. And we're asking the AI to identify 3 or 4 most important recommended adjustments based on the information that you provided. See, you don't want to put conclusions because it's going to push the AI in one direction or another. Might just give you bias reinforcement, for example. We want it to be based on evidence and facts. All right, so for each adjustment, explain which observation justifies it. Give me scaffolds for students who are, and you put in that part. Suggest a way to gradually do what? What are you going to be taking away? What supports are you going to gradually reduce? Part of that gradual reduction of responsibility. Give me an extension task for kids who've already demonstrated. Give me some language supports for students who blank. And that's you there. And if you have a partner activity, which hopefully you do, modify it so that students have to do what? What do you want to see the students actually perform? And that's what goes there. Then give me some exit tickets. And what do you want to learn from those exit tickets? You want to know these things, which you will put in. So then the exit tickets will be tailored to help you answer those questions. And finally, don't rewrite the whole thing. Keep the parts that work. Just make modifications. And very importantly, understand that this is not a permanent, fixed analysis of students' needs. It's always going to be flexible because their needs are going to change over time. So that is number 3. Taking what you already know and making instructional modifications based upon it. I hope you found this useful. Take care.